expect hotter, longer and more frequent heat waves in the next 15 years.
The Climate Council says the extreme conditions are also intensifying.
An electrical storm system that caused hundreds of lightning strikes is lingering over the city tonight.
An indication of that is a temperature reading that we call the dew point. That was very high this morning, one of the highest readings in March that we've had.
So that it's not just that these events are unusual, it's that they're unprecedented.
Meanwhile, a staggering statistic out of Chicago.
There's rain in the northwest and snow where you'd expect it.
The Windy City had no measurable snow during January and February for the first time in 146 years.
A rare bit of normal in a bizarre winter.
In a normal winter, Illinois is blanketed in snow, not battered by tornadoes like this deadly twister on Tuesday.
It's mind-blowing. We've never had anything like this since I've been around. And it's just, it's pretty wild.
We can say without a doubt that heat waves are occurring more frequently, they're lasting longer.
All these are the beginning of birth pains. But then he comes to the word, it's interesting, he says, but then. And when he says then, he starts talking about what we might say, if we're going to put it into pregnancy terms, that there will begin this time of hard labor. And we know that in terms of the gestational cycle, that when a woman begins to be very near delivery, she begins to feel abdominal pains and cramps much more significantly, much more severe. It becomes evident because this is discomfort of a different kind.
Has warned the drought in the region, in the Horn of Africa, is creating a potential humanitarian disaster.
Somalia's Prime Minister says some 110 people have died in the south of the country in the last 2 days from famine.
It is imperative for us to help each other, as the magnitude of this drought is very alarming.
The crisis in Somalia is unprecedented.
One of the things that results in recurrent drought is the issue of the effect of climate change.
There is an enormous amount of work and good work, critical scientific work going on all over the planet to understand this phenomenon of climate change.
And what Jesus wanted us to understand is that when we come to the times of the end, it's not going to be like we can't recognize it, because not only have we been given information about what's coming in the world, but it's going to be pretty obvious that this is not normal, that the world is moving in directions heretofore unseen.
It's grazing time in Mongolia, but the animals, weak and weary from one of the harshest winters in decades, seem reluctant to move.
While in California, there's been so much snow that a 5-year-long drought may finally be over after one of California's wettest winters on record.
And so far, even one of Hawaii's mountains has gotten more snow than Denver. Most years, Vermont maple syrup farmers like Dave Silloway would be trudging through 3 feet of snow. Their task is easier this season.
And across the country, it's likely to mean harsher bushfire conditions, longer and hotter heat waves, an increase in the number of severe thunderstorms and more intense cyclones and rain, while extreme droughts are expected to become more frequent and last longer.
"20 years ago, we were talking about the word freezing over, and now we're talking about it cooking to death." I mean, it's just, there is climate change. That's why they went from global warming to climate change, because climate does change. It's called spring, summer, fall, you know. I mean, we have changes of climate and so forth, but it is cataclysmic. And the whole point is, if CO2 is really percolating out there in the earth, we know that millennia ago, the CO2 levels were significant, 200 times higher than they are right now. And what was the earth like? It was tropical. because there was so much heat, because what happens with that, the CO2, it makes plants grow. The green spaces around the planet have actually increased. Do you realize that the Arctic thinning of the ice has reversed itself for the last 2 years? We're not hearing about that. And the snow levels have gone back to where they were. Poor polar bears. We went from 6,000 to 25,000. I don't know what we're going to do, except stay out of their way.
Take a look at this. This is video of what's known as the Ring of Fire. It's an eclipse caused when the moon moves between the Earth and the sun. Happens very quickly, as you can see. You got to be alert. I'm kidding. We're playing the video at 6 times the actual speed. The light show was visible in Chile, Argentina, and some other nations. But
I was going to say, don't blink, you'll miss it.
Was it an explosion or something much bigger? Reports of houses shaking, windows rattling, and loud noises late last night.
Seismometers under scrutiny across Arizona tonight, being checked and rechecked. Geologists say we get hundreds of little earthquakes in our state every single year.
Yeah, but they say there were none in the valley at about 8:30 last night.
Because they felt the boom and they also felt maybe pressure coming down on their rooftops. The question is, what kind of thing would have that kind of power?
We heard a thump.
She's in Scottsdale. She's in Fountain Hills.
And then a second bang happened, so I looked at my light to see if it was shaking or anything, and it's like, there's no light, and I didn't know what it was.
With houses shuddering, dogs barking, the air rumbling, Twitter blew up.
Then it was interesting because right before I felt the first jolt, all of my dogs became alert. They were asleep, and they all kind of rushed towards the door, and I thought that that was interesting.
We called everybody who we could think of who could possibly have the answer, from NASA to the FAA to Luke Air Force Base, the National Weather Service, the Arizona Geological Survey, even the Arizona Mine Inspector.
We want to know as much as you do. What went boom in the night last night? Back to you.
We're going to see a world that's going to become increasingly antagonistic to Christianity. Is that hard to picture? Okay? I mean, really, it's going to become increasingly antagonistic, and it's going to not be just regional, but it's going to be worldwide. That there's going to be this increasing hatred and despising of believers.
Long Island high school students are staging a walkout over a change in their graduation gown colors.
But this year, students wearing the same color gown, and they're not happy about it.
Celebrating its 50th anniversary this year, the school will buck tradition, departing from green robes for young men and gold for young women. All students will wear the same, a green gown with gold stole bearing the high school emblem in an effort to uphold the rights of transgender students.
Right now, the school's kind of clearly divided.
It makes graduation inclusive and safe.
Because he says along with it, you'll see an increase in wickedness. He says the love of many will grow cold.
The teenager charged with an unspeakable crime, murder, attempted murder, and biting at the face of one of his victims.
A Skype interview with Austin Haraf from his hospital room paints the picture of a deeply troubled and regretful young man.
He's accused of randomly murdering a Martin County couple and then chewing on the face of one of the victims.
They were people he didn't even know.
Did you leave that restaurant wanting to hurt anyone?
No.
Why did you do it?
Strange things Haraf said on the day of the killings.
I become like almost immortal. I have to die one day to give life. That's not immortal.
Well, also in that interview, Austin said he was running from a demon-like figure named Daniel before that attack.
But that he has heard voices, the devil talking to him, and that he has had superpower delusions and godlike fantasies. The night of the murders, Haraf exhibited strange behavior.
And to add to this, when the attack initially happened, authorities said he must have been on some sort of drug, but toxicology results have shown he was not.
Do you have any idea in the world why you would do that?
I don't know why.
He talks about running away from a demonic creature named Daniel and into a random garage where Mishkan was sitting. By that time, he says, he was nearly naked, although he says he doesn't remember taking off his clothes.
hurt a lot when we find both of them.
And then his exhortation is stand firm.